for two. Kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two. Sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this. Multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo! This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 225 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are here every Wednesday and Friday night on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. Syndicated on all major podcast networks. And, of course, we're also on the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here with my two co-hosts, Mr. Tim Strobel and Gerson. What's up, guys?
What up, what up, what up?
Oh, man, happy to be back. Another week.
Yes, sir. We got
all the money this week.
Yes, sir. We had a pretty good week last week. But real quick at the top here, we did have some sobering news this past weekend. We haven't been on since this weekend, so we wanted to quickly talk about the passing of Mike Tagliero. So let me, Gerson wanted to say a few words, so Gerson, you take the floor.
Mike Tagliero was a pioneer in the industry of the fantasy football industry, but best of all, he was a great person, a great father, a great husband. I mean, this guy here was one of the biggest reasons I love looking forward to fantasy football every week. Whether it was his podcast or whether it was his writing. To let you guys know, for the last 4 years, one of the biggest ways I can spit fact or stat to you guys was through the primer. He wrote a 50,000 word article, no lie. Jeff will tell you it's 50,000 words long. And he dedicated basically his career to that. And not only that, the fact that he was actually helpful to reach out to everybody on the fantasy football industry and make a difference. And we saw exactly how big he impacted the industry. I believe there were over $350,000 the last time dollars in GoFundMe account the last time I saw, and Fantasy Pros is willing to donate $100,000. This was tragic to me because I never met the guy and I never really spoke to him. But there's only 2 times in my life I felt like, wow, that hurt. Like it hurt, and I never met the person. One of them was actually kind of weird, but when Kobe Bryant passed away, and the second time was when Mike Tagliero passed away. To Tabby, we're all here to support you from the Going for Two family. We're a part of the fantasy industry, but more than anything, we're a friend. We're all friends. We're all, always looking out for each other. If you need anything from our Going for Two family, we're more than happy to, be there for you.
Yeah, well said, Gerson. Well said. And
tags.
Yes, definitely.
Tag.
All right, guys. I know it's a little bit sobering, a little bit depressing, but we're here to talk some fantasy, so let's go ahead and jump right into it.
The Weekly Rewind. Rewind.
All right, Tim, I'm going to go to you first. How'd your week go last week?
Yeah, I did okay. I had some good calls and some bad calls, just kind of like every week. But my defenses all hit last week, which is what I always care about. So as long as those defenses come through, I know I'm providing y'all quality content. So my cash games didn't do so well, but I did good in tournaments. So I'll take it as a break-even week.
Good stuff. Gerson, how about you? How'd you do?
I did good. It was probably my best week of the year. Of the year. I did really get a single entrance, but it was because I had like 3 single entrants with Matthew Stafford. And I was like, the whole morning I was debating, man, do I go Matthew Stafford, Lamar? I didn't know what quarterback I was going to until the last 30 minutes of the day. And you can go on the show for the Sunday show, and you'll see how bad I was flipping out. Because I didn't know. Like, there was so many good quarterback play, but Matthew Stafford saved my ass. And, oh, man, I'm telling you guys, it could be another Matthew Stafford week.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, man. I was looking at the sheet from last week, and in your stack of the week was Stafford, Higbee, Kupp, and Godwin.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Gerson just gave you the cheat code for the week on the show if you were paying attention.
Definitely a great stack. I had a pretty good week, too. My cash games actually did really well. My cash game was the one, I think, in your tournament, too, Tim. I think I ended up like third or fourth in that tournament with my cash lineup, so that was a pretty good hit there. But most importantly, Mr. Taylor Heineke, he came through in the end. It was a terrible NFL game, but for fantasy, he ended up saving it in the end and making me look okay. Gerson didn't like that play very much, but yeah, so I just want to call that one out. All right, let's go ahead and get right into the quarterbacks.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right.
Hey, real quick before we get started on quarterbacks, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I love that we do this show late on Friday night because we get all of the Friday injury report news before we do the show. And if there was ever a Friday where you needed the injury report news, it was today. I think the whole slate changed today. So if you're listening to a podcast from Wednesday or Thursday, that information's probably outdated. So just stay locked here onto the Armchair Fantasy Show every Friday night.
Definitely. And if you want some last minute stuff, you can tune into our show, Going for Two Live, the morning show on Sunday. Gerson jumps on for about 20 minutes right before he goes and builds his 150 lineups. So he's literally giving you the plays that he plays on Sunday. So, make sure you tune in. If there's any last-minute news, Gerson's going to react to it and tell you who to play on that. So, definitely want to do that. All right, let's get to these top-tier quarterbacks. And, Gerson, I'm going to go to you first, man. Talk about one of your top tier.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is actually mid-range price, but he's going to be my top-tier quarterback, probably the quarterback I'm going to have the most exposure to. There's a lot of games last year that I remember just, like, off the top of my head, right? Like the Seattle Seahawks Arizona game was one of the biggest scoring games last year. And this is the kind of feeling I'm getting of this game. Matthew Stafford versus the Arizona Cardinals. He's $7,000, very affordable. He's coming in at 8% ownership. While the DVP and the DVOA shows that the Cardinals are really, stout against it. They're third overall. But I think Matthew Stafford, the way he's been flinging the ball, he's not going to stop. I mean, he had 27 complete. I mean, he had 38 attempts last week, 343 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's being very efficient with his workload. And I think that McVay offense is looking great. They say Henderson's going to play. And if he does play, I don't think he's going to get, like, the full workload. I think he'll share it with Sony Michel. But either way, I think you're going to have to score on the Cardinals because the Cardinals are going to score as well.
Yep.
So, I mean, that sounds like a Mike – what do you call – not Mike. That sounds like Joe Buck. They're going to score on you, so you better score back, But, no, I love Matthew Stafford at $7,000. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him, and he's coming in at almost 8% ownership.
All right, good
Yeah,
stuff.
the Rams actually give up the least number of sacks in the league, so I think that this says a lot for Matthew Stafford, his ability to stay in the pocket and make those throws. So I like that call a lot. I'm going to go right to the top of the board here with one pissed-off Patrick Mahomes. If you would have come into Week 4, you would not have thought that the Kansas City Chiefs would be 1-2 on the season. If you did, I hope you made a lot of money in Vegas. But I think they go 2-2 this weekend and handle the Philadelphia Eagles, who also just got embarrassed on Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. So I think this is the 60-point special of the week. I really like this game to go over. I actually like both quarterbacks in this game, and I'm going to have a lot of exposure to both. So that's where a lot of my exposure is going to be, Patrick Mahomes and then Jalen Hurts. So I love Jalen Hurts because even as bad as that game was Monday night, he still put up a 20-point fantasy week. This dude seems like he has about a 20-point floor. Kansas City is giving up, I think, second or third most points to quarterbacks. We saw what Justin Herbert did against them last week. So I think this could easily be a game where you're gonna have to have one of these stacks, or you're not going to be able to win a tournament. So.
Yeah, that's a good call. I have both of those guys on my list as well, but the only one that we hadn't talked about, there's really two guys we hadn't talked about. One of them I kind of like because of his price point, and that's Russell Wilson at 7.1. Russell Wilson plays well against the 49ers. He plays better at home, but they are on the road this week. So that's why I'm not super high on them. Plus, I think Metcalf and Lockett are both banged up. I think they'll both play, but who knows how effective they'll be. So at 7.1, he's interesting. I also like Josh Allen as a pivot off of Mahomes. He kind of got his mojo back last week against the Washington football team. Threw for, I think, 5 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns and ran for 1. So against Houston, if you look at the DVOA, shows that they're pretty good against the pass, but I'm not buying it this early in the season. I think that Josh Allen's still going to tear them apart. I think this is going to be a Diggs coming out party as well. I think Diggs has been kind of quiet so far this year, but I think this will be Diggs' week. So look for that Josh Allen and Diggs stack. I think it's going to be pretty popular.
Love that call.
All right, let's move down into the mid-tiers. And this time I'll go to you first, Tim. No,
well,
you don't have anybody.
Don't have any mid-tiers.
You don't have any mid-tiers.
The closest thing I have to a mid-tier is Jalen Hurts. I think this is a week where if you're playing quarterback, you want to pay up or pay all the way down. But I do think one guy's pretty intriguing who's on both of y'all's lists, so I wanted y'all to talk about him.
All right, go ahead, Gerson. Talk about, I'm assuming he means Mr. Dak Prescott.
Yeah, man, Dak Prescott. I was kind of scared when he did really bad against the Chargers. And I was like, man, this guy had him ranked in like the top 5 as quarterback. I was like all hyped up on him the offseason. Damn, But we haven't seen that 400-yard explosion since week 1. Last week, he basically did it on touchdown variance, which is 3 touchdowns. I mean, he had 143 rating, but 21 for 26, very efficient, 80% completion against the Philadelphia Eagles. But this week, he's facing the Carolina Panthers. I don't know about you guys, but I get it. The defense been pretty stout.
They haven't played anybody.
But
they played nobody so far.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They haven't really played anybody. I mean, they played the Houston Texans, Jameis Winston, Zach Wilson. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, those aren't, like, great quarterbacks. Even though, I mean, come on, man. People need to go over Jameis Winston. He's not a thing. Not going to be a thing. He's just not that good. I'm talking to you, Jeff. No, but Dak Prescott, 6,700, coming in at 9% ownership. I'm going to have a lot of him, and the reason why is because I love that game. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to that game. And it sucked because the last time I said this, that game shit the bed, which was Dallas versus the Chargers. But
I want to let you know, Gerson, I'm getting a real Dallas versus Chargers vibe from this game.
Ooh.
I am feeling that way. I have a real feeling that this game could go under. I don't think that Carolina is going to be able to score a lot of points, and so I'm scared that Dallas is not going to have to put up a lot of points. Plus, Carolina is bottom 5 in terms of pace. So even though Dallas is a pretty up-paced team, I think that this game is going to be slowed down significantly. We may see a Zeke touchdown, maybe a Tony Pollard touchdown, and you may only see 1 touchdown from Dak Prescott, which is the only thing that concerns me because then he has to hit that 300-yard bonus or he's not going to pay off his salary. So that's the only thing that concerns me about that game.
So one of the biggest things was that I like about the Dak Prescott is that he's at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Carolina, they have to travel all the way to Texas to play them.
Yep.
So
True.
I'm just hoping, man, maybe that defense is not as stout as we think it is, because I really don't think it is. And, Dak at home is pretty money. But I don't know, man. Like, I just love this game, the correlation with we'll name a lot of their plays pretty sure throughout the show.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this game is a nice game to stack, too, because there's very condensed targets. We know who Dak's throwing to. On the other side, we know where the ball's going. It's going to DJ Moore. He's got like a bazillion targets this year already. So, it means an easy comeback candidate right there. So, and I think Dak's price didn't reflect the Monday night game because it came out, obviously, before the Monday night game was over with, so they weren't reflected in that price. I think he would have been closer to the 7.5 or 7.4 had they included that game. So, at 6.7, he's definitely a value. My other guy, I'm going back to Heineke again. He got the Atlanta Falcons this week.
We gave him a $1,000 price increase, and Jeff is like, "We're going back again."
Going back to Heineke again. It's all based on matchup. Atlanta has, I think, the 32nd DVOA passing defense. I do think Atlanta will be able to score points on the Washington football teams. I think this could be a sneaky high-scoring game. So Heineke at 5.9, I think, is still playable for me, and he has rushing upside. We haven't seen a whole lot of it this year so far, but he does have rushing upside. So. I do think, and then they're getting Curtis Samuel back this week, so he'll also be a little bit more versatile, more targets to look for. So I think Heineke at 5.9 is still pretty good.
So I got to tell you, Jeff, it makes me want to vomit a little bit, but I'm going to take the quarterback on the other side of that game. I think this is going to be that, Matt Ryan game. And one thing that was really interesting, we saw last week that the Washington football team is surprisingly up-paced this team. This actually is the third fastest anticipated pace game in the weekend. So I was really surprised. There's going to be a lot of possessions in this game. Matt Ryan has historically played better at home. And I think that there's a very exploitable matchup that we're going to talk about later that Matt Ryan can take advantage of. So I think if this is we're going to talk about this when we get to the running backs and wide receivers, but there are 4 players this weekend that I think 2 or 3 of those 4 are going to be in the majority of lineups that you see this weekend. So you're going to have to decide, am I going to be able to pay up to get that third guy, or do I want to pay up at quarterback? So I think if you do want to pay down at quarterback, you can reliably probably get 15 to 17 points out of Matt Ryan, who always has that ability to have a 30-point game at home. So
Agreed.
I think it could happen.
And their run game isn't nothing to write home about, so they're going to have to pass and move the ball. So I like that call a lot. I actually had him on my value tier as well. You had one more guy on there if you wanted to mention him really quick, Mr. Brissette.
Yeah, just real quick, Jacoby Brissette. And there's 2 reasons I like this play. One, he's so cheap at 5,100. Like I said, he lets you pay for those other guys. 2, all 3 of his main wide receivers are healthy, ready to go into this weekend. And 3, they're actually designing a good number of runs for him, particularly down near the goal line. I think he had 7 or 8 design runs last week. And we saw that even when Tua was healthy, they'd occasionally bring him in and do some goal line stuff. So I think there's a real good chance that he gets 1 run in this week. If he can get another 1 or 2 through the air, he obviously pays off that 5,100 price tag. So again, I'm not advocating punting this week, but if you do want to punt, I think Ryan and Brissette are the safest of the punts.
Agreed.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, to kind of speed things up a little bit, me and Tim have Kelsey on there. We talk about Kelsey every week. He's always playable, so we're not even going to talk about Kelsey. However,
I do want to mention my stat, though.
Go ahead.
He's the biggest advantage on the week. He has a 93% advantage, according to Pro Football Focus, over his defender.
Wow.
We saw Dalton Schultz leave the Philly linebackers on skates in that Monday night game with his 2 touchdowns. And now they have to play against Travis Kelce.
Good point.
So I mentioned those 4 guys that you're going to want to have 2 or 3 in every lineup. Travis Kelce is one of those 4 players because tight end is ugly this week. So if you can pay up for Travis Kelce, if you can find that money, you're going to get an advantage over 2/3 or at least half of the lineups out there.
Good call. And Gerson, you got one tight end up there in your top tier.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the guy that's just been getting up. Wait, is he still 100% workload? Tyler Higbee?
I think so,
I'm going to go right back to him. I mean, I love his game environment. Higbee last week didn't let me down. He was actually a big reason why I did very well in profiting.
Last week he had a great week. He only played 75% of snaps.
But he had more fantasy points, so maybe that's the correlation right there.
That is. That's a trick right there. He found the sweet spot.
Yeah, but he went 5 for 5, 40 yards and a touchdown. He was $4,000 last year. He went up $600, which is, it's a lot for a tight end, I would say. But he's coming in at 5% ownership. So I'm just trying to stack that game, and with Tyler Higbee being the guy there, I can see him. I can see this game going pretty high going. So I'm going to have a lot of Tyler Higbee, and hopefully it pays off again. But he's my top guy. Obviously, Kelsey, Kittle, all those top guys. They're going to play guys, but we're not going to bore you with those guys.
Yeah, and Kittle may not play. I don't know if y'all saw that. So Kittle may not play this week, and that will be a bump for Mr. Debo, I believe. But we'll get to that when we get.
Still there?
What was that?
Is Jordan Reed still there? Because
No, he retired. I think it's going to be Ross Dwelly is going to be the tight end if they end up. Ross Dwelly.
So I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about Matt Ryan. I might as well just give it away now. He's burned me already a couple times this season, but I'm going to let him burn me one more time, and that's Kyle Pitts at 5K. Washington is one of the worst teams in the league at facing the tight end. He has a top 3 matchup in terms of anticipated linebacker matchup this week, a 49% advantage. And I think a lot of people are going to skip over him because of the fact that he's burned them. So that Matt Ryan to Kyle Pitts stack, I'm going to have some exposure to in tournaments this week because I think that he has maybe not the upside Kelsey does, but he's got the 20-point plus upside that you need to take down a tournament.
Yeah, I like that call. Gerson, you have a guy on your list there. I want you to talk about him a little bit because I'm a little concerned. Mr. Evan Ingram. Why do you like him in your mid tier?
Well, we got, like Tim said, on Friday is the best day to actually. I'm a firm believer. Whatever report you get on Friday is like this guy's doubtful or questionable. Like, you're pretty much not gonna play. It's like you didn't practice Friday, you're not gonna play. And I've done this. Like over the years, like doing a checklist, like with the players, and then every single time I'm like, all right, I don't think he's gonna play. It's been a pretty good feeling, and I believe, if I'm correct, Tim, both of the wide receivers are still both questionable. Right?
I think they've been officially ruled out.
Shepard and Slayton are out.
Yeah, so Evan Ingram, it's kind of gut wrenching, right? Like Jeff said, I want to hear this, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I wasn't feeling great about it, but he's the only guy that's gonna be out there getting targets, along with some wide receiver that Urban Meyer liked. I can't remember his name though.
I'll have him later. Don't worry. But I will tell you, Jason Garrett will scheme him to run those same 7 and 9 yard curl routes that Jason Witten ran for a decade. So at least he'll get the targets, even if the ADOT is around 7 yards on all of them. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think this week. It's basically Kelsey or punt. I think Pitts is interesting in the mid range. I also think Noah Fant is interesting in the mid range. I think unlike TJ Hawkinson last week, where they could lock him down with 2 defenders, they're going to have to leave Noah Fant one-on-one, so he could get some good touches this week. So I think those are my favorite 2 mid-range options. My favorite of the pay-down options, which I actually thought he was sneaky, and the more I looked into it, he's not sneaky at all, which is unfortunate, is Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
This guy's at 3,600. He's already had he's already had one good game this year. But Houston is miserable again against the tight end. So up-pace game, possibly in a rainy environment, at home. I just think everything kind of lines up. Highest team total on the week for Dawson Knox to get a touchdown this week and easily pay off that 3,600 price tag. And by paying down a tight end, like I said, you can pay up for some of these other guys we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, I like that call. I had Knox on my list as well, and I think Knox was even mentioned in the chat. We did have one question I'm going to ask you, Tim, because I know you've done this a couple of times, and to see if this is one of those slates. But World Trick Shots wants to know, is it a slate to go with double tight end? Probably Kelsey and Pitts. Is that a thing you want to do on this slate?
I think you can, just because this slate is so ugly and then the mid-range is so tough. But I think that this might end up being a 3 running back week. So I think I'm going to have a lot of 3 running back lineups. But I could see Kelsey Pitts. That might be the only 2 tight ends that I would consider if I was going to do a 2 tight end lineup this week.
Good stuff. I just had 2 guys in my value tier that I'll just mention really quick. I did have Gesicki on there. He had 10 targets last week with Brissette under center. So if that continues, that's definitely a good thing at 4K if he's getting 10 targets. And then I had Freiermuth for the Steelers. He had a touchdown last week. His targets have gone up every week that he's played. Go ahead, Gerson.
No, keep going. I got to play though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was it. This those 2 guys.
And I'll just say the Packers are bottom 5 against tight ends as well, so that's a real good play. I like that.
Noah Fant at 4,300 is definitely intriguing for me. I'm gonna have a lot of exposure to him. He's coming in at 7% ownership, rostership. Sorry, 4,300. This guy, I mean, he's a freak athlete. Like, I love this guy, the way he plays. Teddy Bridgewater been targeting him quite a bit too. So 6-8 in the first 2 games last week. He only got 3 targets. I think that's more like, that's just like the worst he can do. But Baltimore ranked 32nd in DVOA versus tight end. Mm-hmm. And Baltimore's defense, the secondary hasn't been as great. I mean, yes, they did shut down Tyrek Hill, but I think that was more of a game plan they were trying to do, take away that guy. I don't think they're going to game plan to take away Noah Fant. I think they're going to game plan to take away Cortland Sutton or, either blitz the hell out of Teddy Bridgewater. But I love Noah Fant in this game for sure at 4,300. Another guy I like is TJ Hawkinson, guys. Just keep going back to him. Trust me, he's an elite tight end. I think, well, Tim just made a face like, no, he's not, but I love TJ Hawkinson. I'm going to play him every week no matter what, because I think he's up there in that tier of elite tight end, and he's mid-range price at 5,000.
All right, I like it. I think we spent enough time on tight end there. I will mention the one guy we didn't talk about on the sheet there.
He's 5,800, by the way.
Hawkinson is?
Yeah, he's 5,800.
Tim had Schultz at 3,400 on there. Anything you want to say about Schultz really quick, Tim?
No, I think it's just a cheap way to get exposure to that game. That's really my only thing on Schultz. I don't think, it's very rare for a tight end to ever have 2 good games back-to-back unless their name is Travis Kelce, so I don't expect another 2-touchdown game. But he's clearly running a number of routes in that offense. He's obviously a cheap way to get exposure to the game. But as Gerson said earlier, with the news today for the Giants, I think I'd rather spend $200 more for Knox or save $400 and go down to Ingram.
Ingram, yeah, good call. All right, this is where we normally do a promo. I know I promised y'all last week we'd have a new sponsor this week. Well, I do have a new sponsor, but unfortunately I haven't gotten the promo code yet. They're a little slow on that, but I can announce it now. BetMGM is going to be our new sponsor. So it's a pretty big sponsor there. We're waiting for the promo code to come through so I can give it through on the podcast. I'm
also going to do one of those Jamie Foxx commercials, it's like the overs, the unders, the spreads.
There you go.
That's the commercial right there.
I got it for you.
I'm going to run it back, and I'm just going to take that part right out, and that's the promo. Good stuff. So, yeah, next week, guys, hopefully I'll have the promo code for y'all. It's basically going to be a free bet for you. A risk-free bet. If you deposit $10, if you put it at $10 that week, if you lose, you still get your money back. So it's a pretty cool thing that we're doing with BetMGM. So look for that next week.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, I know it says running backs plural with an S, but Gerson, there's only one guy that's playing this week, right? Who's that?
Well, guys, last week I did it. This week I'm going to do it again, so hold on. Gotta put my crown on. Oh, shit. Yeah, I gotta put my crown back on. Guys, we just don't do this. It's with the King Henry. Like Tim said today, there was a lot of big injuries going on, and there was no bigger ones than basically 2 of their best wide receivers from the Tennessee Titans being out. And I can't tell you guys, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do. Oh wait, I do. They're gonna run the fucking ball. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna be like, hey, how about we just give it to our best player? I don't know. We might play Russell Westbrook or someone else, But let's just give it to the Derrick Henry, the king, And I can't see them not doing this because honestly, what else are you gonna do? Just give them the fucking ball. And against the
Jets.
Yeah. The Jets. They're
bottom 3, right?
Bottom 3. So basically, to me, it's King Henry. And honestly, I'm gonna give you guys this though. I've played Derrick Henry in good spot and bad spot. This is chalk. This is the chalk of chalk. He's gonna be probably 20% owned. If you want to be very contrarian, but it can be very backfiring, you can fade him at your own risk.
Yep.
I don't suggest it, but if you want to be different in a GPP tournament, the round table arena, yeah, go ahead and do it, please. No, Derrick Henry's gonna smash this week. I'm probably gonna have him probably 50% of my roster, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's higher either.
Yeah, so Derrick Henry was definitely one of those players I alluded to earlier that you're going to want to pay up for in all of your lineups. All hail the king. Everything just kind of lines up this week. Like he said, Tennessee is playing a bad Jets team. They're expected to have the game script. They obviously proved in that game against Seattle that it doesn't matter what the game script is. They're just going to keep running King Henry. And then obviously they lose A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, so it just puts even more emphasis on the run game. I do think that the Jets may try and put 9 or even 10 men in the box, but I don't think it matters, man. I think that they're going to give him so many touches that he's going to pay off. He's going to get you that 100-yard bonus, and it's just a question of how many touchdowns he gets you. So I think there is one viable pivot off of Derrick Henry, and that's Alvin Kamara. And 2 reasons for that. One, the New York Giants are just so bad. But any pass-catching running back is really viable against them. But they get probably the best pass-catching running back in this matchup this week. They already have a good advantage on the ground. He's got an even better advantage through the air. This could easily be a situation where I could see him getting 7, 8, even 10 targets and being able to pay off that 8,400. He's going to get the workload through the air of a wide receiver 1, if not a wide receiver 2, and then probably get another 10 touches on the ground. So I think if you can pay for Henry and Kamara this week, I think that's a great way to go. But I definitely think you're going to want to have at least one of those guys.
Yeah, and Gerson, Brian wanted to know where the theme song is. He was waiting for his Derrick Henry theme song. You have to give me that link, and I'll add it to my sound sheet over here so we can use it next time.
You know, I came really close to adding the Ric Flair theme, like, because his sounds like a king, you know?
Right.
But, no, I'll hit you up with that, bro. I got you.
Stuff.
Brian, good call, though.
And one thing, too, on that stacking the box on Derrick Henry, there's one thing about stacking the box. If he gets past that first level, there's no one behind it. He's going to the house.
No.
Yeah, so that if they stack the box and he's able to break that first level, look out, he's going to the house. So that's the one thing about stacking the box.
Seen that, I think he played the Houston Texans last year, and they stacked the box at the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
And he fucking went right through the hole and went like 90 yards. That's when he did basically. If you didn't have Derrick Henry, it was at that moment you were like that.
Yep.
It was at this moment you knew you fucked up.
That's exactly right.
All right, let's move down into the mid-tiers here. So if we're not playing Derrick Henry and we're fading Derrick Henry, who are you playing here in the mid-tier, Tim?
Well, I'm not going to be fading him, really. But there is one guy. There's actually two guys here that I really like, but I see the other guys on both of your lists. So I'm going to go with former Sick Call of the Week and former Millionaire Maker winner Deandre Swift.
Nice.
This dude has been amazing this year for the Detroit Lions. And Coach Campbell comes out talking about we're going to give him even more touches, right? We want to give him even more work than he's already getting. The wide receivers, as we know, for the Lions are non-existent. Cephas season has quickly drawn to a close, and it is just running backs all day plus TJ Hawkinson. So when you're talking about a guy who has a realistic, like I said, 7-target floor in this game at 6,200, he may be too cheap. I've seen some projections from him as high as 18 to 20 points. So we're talking about a guy that you can realistically look at having a 3 times value plus that tournament upside that you're looking for. So I really like Swift this week. Everything indicates he should be good to go. Obviously, keep an eye on that. But I think, his run advantage and pass catching ability just set up so well in this spot against Chicago.
Agreed. I actually overlooked him, so that's a good call. I don't know how I missed him at 6,200. That's definitely a great play.
Okay, Hamid.
No, I would have played him. I just missed him when I was scrolling through DraftKings. Hamid's the Swift hater. All right, Gerson, what you got for your mid-tiers?
It's a tough year to be a Swift hater. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
The wrong year to do it.
I'm just going to say this right now. You're going to basically the running back, like if you're going to do 3 running backs, you're going to go Derrick Henry, mid-tier, value tier. I don't really think you really want to do 2 high running backs because you're going to have to try to find those stacks and those guys, For cash game, I'm not a cash game guy, but I did give out some cash game plays last week, and I apologize. That's why I'm not the greatest at it. But, yeah, fuck you, Justin Field, you asshole. But no, I think this week for me is Naji Harris. I'm going to go back to him. With the Chase Claypool. Let me take off this fucking hat.
Still rocking the king hat.
Yeah. With the Chase Claypool injury, and Dave said that he was leaning toward doubtful, I believe.
Yeah.
No, I think he's going to play. Okay.
So if he doesn't play, or even if he does play, I'm going to go with Naji Harris. I mean, last week he got what? 14
19 targets.
19 targets. 14 receptions, 102 yards, and then he got 40 yards. I mean, his yard per carry is pathetic, but I don't really care about that because he was getting targeted. It's one thing that I know this. I seen my brother play flag football for his little kid, and I think he's just as good as Ben Roethlisberger. When I saw him on the field the other day, I was like, man, this guy looks like Ben Roethlisberger. And it was my brother, the beard and everything, a little bit chunky, And then he threw that little Hail Mary, and it came like 10 yards short. And his son came up to him and be like, what the fuck, Dad? He didn't say what the fuck, but he's like, what the frick, Dad? But, dude, Big Ben can. Like, he's just going to shut down to Naji Harris and give me that rushing upside. His price is getting up, $6,800. And he's supposed to be the 3rd highest owned running back at 13%. So I'm going to have a lot of Naji Harris for the Green Bay Packers. Sorry, Tim, but your Green Bay Packers are not doing very well against the run. DVOA, they have them 25th overall. and DVP basically 21st.
All right.
Green Bay does not prioritize linebackers. I'm just going to say that now. They prioritize defensive linemen and defensive backs.
Yeah.
So our linebackers are always going to suck.
That's a good call.
Speaking about a team whose linebackers always seem to suck, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. I want to talk about how Antonio Gibson, assuming he plays in this game, looks like one of the best plays on the board to me. We saw him obviously break off a long touchdown last week. This is a team that even made Saquon look good at parts of last week. And I mentioned earlier that I really like the Ryan to Pitt stack. So I think one of my most popular, starts this week is going to be Ryan, Pitts, and Gibson, assuming he's good to go. As Gerson said earlier, I think the chalky kind of build this week is going to be paying up for either Henry or Kamara and then paying for one of these 6K guys. And so I think that he's definitely somebody who gives you a lot of upside, and he probably won't be as popular as some of these other guys.
Gerson's phone's going off.
My phone was dead. Sorry, guys. I didn't turn it on.
It's all good. So the only guys I have, we haven't mentioned David Montgomery yet at 5.8. I think versus Detroit, it's a pretty good play. And I have Chubb at 7K. He's in that range where it's sort of like, do I want to pay 7K for him? But I do think that against Minnesota, I think he can definitely be viable. He had a game last week where he didn't score. I think overall his touches were there, but he just didn't score a touchdown. I think this week he gets that touchdown against Minnesota. So I like Chubb at 7K as well.
Yeah, and I will add that the Browns are number 1 this week in adjusted line yards. Minnesota Vikings give up almost 5 yards, so that should be great for Chubb.
Good stuff. A couple more guys that Gerson's got, and just real quick to mention them. He had Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Jones. Anything you want to talk about those guys, Gerson?
I mean, Zeke's going to eat, and Aaron Jones could be very contrarian and play on this slate.
Yep. I mentioned it earlier. I think that a lot of people are going to look at that Dallas passing game, and they're going to skip right over Zeke. So I love Zeke as a GPP play.
Good stuff. In case y'all hadn't noticed, so we've gone through the quarterbacks, the tight ends, and most of the running backs here, and Tim has not mentioned a single Packer. That is by design. Tim has given up talking about Packers. So
True.
Just want to throw that out
there. There's only one Packer. No, I said it before the show. There's only one Packer. I don't have Aaron Rodgers on my list. I don't have Aaron Jones on my list. There's only one guy I think I want to talk about this week, and we're going to get to him in a minute.
All right.
But before we get to him, I want to talk about a guy who I was ready to write off until last week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They actually used him. They gave him all the touches. He actually looked pretty good. I think he had a fumble at one point last week, but they just kept giving him the ball.
Yep.
And this week he gets to play against Philly. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, Philly's linebackers are not great. I wish they would use him more in the passing game. But we saw that Monday night game, Philly's defensive linemen were just getting blasted off the ball. So if Kansas City can even do a little bit of that and get CEH going, I think this could be a really good game for him at 5,400. And then I'm just going to mention real quick one other guy since none of y'all have him, and that's Nyheim Hines. He actually outsnapped Jonathan Taylor last week, and Miami gives up top 5 receptions to running backs. They also allow top 5 yards after contact for running backs. So I think that everything kind of lines up. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to be a popular play this week for that reason. Also because he hasn't gotten into the box yet, which people think regression will say that he will. But I think one thing you can always count on in PPR is those targets. And I think we're going to see a number of targets for Nyheim Hines this week. I think Miami's going to put pressure on Wentz. He's going to have to get the ball out quickly. And if we see a 7-target game at 4,900, he's going to smash value. So I think Hines could be the cheap guy that allows you to fit in one of those high-priced quarterbacks or one of the high-priced wide receivers we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Yeah, good stuff. I actually have him in my value column on Fantasy Pros, and I forgot to mention him. But yeah, I think Hines is a great play in this PPR format. Another guy that's good in the PPR format that's also the same price at 4.9 is Mr. Cordero Patterson. He had, I think, 7 targets last week, 6 receptions, playing against this Washington football team. We kind of talk about this game a lot. There's going to be a lot of good plays in this game. So I think Patterson at 4.9 is also viable. And then, Gerson, you had Darrell Henderson, obviously, if he has to play to get that. Yeah. But are you still going Darrell Henderson, or do you think he gets split?
I mean, like early on I said, I don't know if he's going to get the full workload. But usually you find out better news, better report on Sunday morning, and they kind of clarify that. So if I get something from Adam Schefter or well, fuck Ian Rappaport. I don't like that guy. But Adam Schefter, I do trust. And just go. Jeff had the NFL list, beat writer list, I believe.
Yep.
I'm not sure, but go follow that. That's what I follow. And honestly, guys, I'm up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday. Like, I'm looking through news. I'm trying to find out what plays could be great. And that's one of the biggest news I'm looking for. If Darrell Henderson is good to go, he can get the full workload. He's probably going to be one of my highest owned value running back, including the other guy that, well, is Shaba Wonder, whatever you want to call him. Shaba Hubbard. I mean, this guy is going to step into the CMC workload, right? I mean, that's what we think he is. I don't know if he is because there's a guy named Royce Freeman that they picked off the waiver wire or free agency. Was he a waiver wire?
He was a waiver wire. Yeah, they put a claim in for him. They didn't wait for him to be free agent. They signed him as a waiver.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just, I mean, he got released, if that says anything. I mean, so, I mean, I like Hubbard, but I'm going to have limited exposure to him. This did backfire on me on last week, though. I feel like this is like an Alexander Madison situation last week because I decided I'm either going to go with CEH or Madison, and I went with CEH. Luckily, it didn't backfire me too much because CEH had a good game, too.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a lot of Madison, and I could have had better rosters last week if I had Madison.
Yeah, I will make it. I didn't have him on my list, but real quick note on Henderson. I think he is one of the best GPP plays on the board because he's going to be probably close to a game-time decision. And the Rams have arguably the best offensive line versus defensive line mismatch this week in terms of rush performance. So I think if he does play and gets the majority of snaps this week, he could end up being a huge play, and he's not going to be nearly as highly owned as he would have been if he would have logged a full practice in today. So I think it's a situation where you definitely want to keep an eye on him. But if we get news that he's going to be, 100%, he's going to get all of the touches, I think he's a guy you're going to want to have in your lineups. Like Gerson said, you want as much exposure to that Cardinals and Rams game as you can. And on a week where there's not a lot of great low-end running back plays, Henderson kind of stands out for me if we know he's going to get the run.
Yeah. Brian Clark saying in the chat, I haven't verified it, but he says Henderson is going to be active. So
he is going to be active. It's just a question of whether or not he's going to get all the work.
Fair enough. And just real quick
how much they're going to give to Sony Michel.
On Gerson getting up at 4 a.m., I can definitely verify that. When he came over to stay at my house for that weekend, on Sunday morning, he got up really early. My wife gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning as well to work out. And Gerson's already downstairs and scared the shit out of my wife because he was already down there building his lineups, and she had no clue he was down there. So I can verify that he is up early as shit in the morning on Sundays. And Tim, you had one more guy that had a caveat next to him. If Gordon is out, I want you to talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, Javonte. So again, like Gerson said earlier, guys who haven't practiced fully through the week, you want to monitor. Definitely pay attention to the Sunday morning show to see whether or not Melvin Gordon goes. If Melvin Gordon doesn't go, I think Javonte Williams at $5,000 is a great option. I think a lot of people will overlook it because they're playing against Baltimore. But Baltimore actually gives up a good number of yards, especially through the air, to running backs. So if Denver does get behind and they have to check it down and he's the only running back in there, he could smash value at $5K. But like I said, I'd rather play Hines or CEH, assuming Gordon plays.
Yeah, good call. I was in a pull-up. I think he got 4 targets last week, splitting time with Gordon. So if Gordon's out, I think he can even get more targets than that.
Wait, what the fuck happened to Gordon? Like,
he's questionable.
He's questionable.
For what?
I don't remember what the injury was.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
His dreadlocks or what?
His dreadlocks.
His dreadlocks.
Ribs/lower leg. So I guess 2 injuries.
No.
But he was limited all week. He didn't get a full practice in all week. So, it may just be a veteran rest type of thing.
Right.
Ribs, a lot of time, if they're, it can be a pain management thing. But like I said, it's really just a game time decision. And at this point, I expect he will play.
Yeah, good call.
And now, wide receivers.
I'm going to go ahead and go first here because this is the only Packer I'm referring on the slate. My man, number 17 in your heart, or number 17 on your programs, number 1 in your hearts. It's Devonte Adams. This dude's target share every week is just ridiculous. I think last week it was like 50%, which is just insane. And then obviously with Marquez Valdez-Scantling out this week, MVS, I think that this is going to be even more of the Cobb show. One of my favorite things is they utilize him so much near the goal line. They run those little quick 2-3 yard routes to get him the ball. I think that, he just, to me, is a $9,000 receiver that's priced at $7,900. So I'm going to have a lot of Devonte Adams this week.
All right, good
See
stuff.
you, Gerson.
Yeah, I was going to go to Gerson next. He literally has a note on the sheet that says "Go to me," so I was going to go to him, but he just walked out. So I'll talk about the other guy that we all have on our list, and it's a pretty easy pick. I mean, it's Cooper Kupp. I mean, how could you not have him on the list? He's been balling out. We even lost his camera. I don't know what happened. We just lost Gerson completely. But yeah, definitely Cooper Kupp at 7.8 versus Arizona. I think he's priced too low. It was like the third or fourth highest priced wide receiver, and he has like the largest average as far as fantasy points per game over the first 3 games. So I think Cooper Kupp at 7.8. I also have Tyrek Hill at 8K. I think Tyrek Hill is going to have his huge game. He hasn't had one yet this year. I think this might actually. There's Gerson. He's back. This might be the.
Yeah, it's just a question of how long can Cooper Kupp sustain a 30+% target share. That's the only question.
Yep.
Because people keep saying it's not sustainable, but like
Keep
if it
sustaining
keeps happening, maybe it
Yeah.
is sustainable. And this is another matchup where they're playing against a team that isn't great against slot receivers. So I could see this being another good Cooper Kupp week. But Gerson, since you're back, talk to us about Stephon Diggs.
Well, hold on 1 second. Guys, I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, Stephon Diggs,
You got to remember, Gerson, we also have audio too, audio podcast. They can't see you doing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I doubt they have WWF music. Yeah, man, I forgot about that. Sorry, Jeff. If we get blocked, I'll be so pissed. Just delete that. No, I mean, it's Stephon Diggs. I mean, I feel like this year Stephon Diggs hasn't had their best season to start.
Yep.
15 points, 16 points, and a 12-point game. A 12-point game in a 43-21 scoring.
Yeah,
game,
that was brutal.
That was freaking shocking to me. And to give you an idea how shocking that was, I had a friend that was a Bills fan. He goes, "How the fuck do you get me only 12? I think it's 12 points for DraftKings, but for like a PPR league in our league, and yeah, but basically the same. But he's getting targeted 13, 8, 10, but he's not making the best of it. I think this will be the Stephon Diggs week. And while I love Cooper Kupp, I'm high on him. While I love Devonte Adams, I'm high on him. But to me, I think the guy that I'm going to have a lot of exposure to is definitely going to be Stephon Diggs, 7,600. I think that kind of a price that looks a little high for a lot of people, but I don't think it is. I think I'm going to get him at lower rostership. He's coming in at 9% compared to Cooper Kupp at 18%, compared to Devonte Adams at 15%. If I can be contrarian and go GPP, I'm definitely going to go with him. He's going to be matched up with Reed or Muncie, I believe. Or no, Murray or Hargrave. One of those three
Probably
guys.
Hargraves. But nobody on Houston can guard him, right? That's the main thing.
No.
Houston actually, I was reading this earlier today, plays among the highest percent of cover 2 in the league. So they're going to have a lot of situations where they're going to be bracketing over Stephon Diggs. I still don't think they could cover him. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. A lot of them will be in zone coverage, so they'll be easy to convert. He may not have that big splash play, but if he gets, 84 yards and a touchdown, and then, or say, he gets another couple catches, then, he's going to pay off that price. And like you said, I feel like Jefferson last week, we knew that it was the Jefferson breakout week. I feel the same way about Diggs in this matchup. So I love that call. We mentioned earlier loving Josh Allen. Obviously a high point total this week. You're going to want all the exposure to that you can.
All right, let's move down into the mid-tiers, Gerson. Who do you got for some of your mid-tier guys?
So we've been saying all day, the whole freaking podcast. Excuse me, hold on. DJ, I'm glad that one's out. DJ Moore probably gonna be my heaviest owned wide receiver this week. I love his price, 6,600. This guy, like Jeff said early on, I believe you said that, right? He's been getting targeted like no other.
Yeah. Yep.
He has 12, 11, 8, 6, and he's had 8 receptions, 6 receptions. I mean, this guy is just, I think, and we know this guy was a highly coveted dynasty player. This guy was I think he was a first round pick, right? He was a first round pick.
Yep.
DJ Moore. I mean, and finally he's coming together. All coming together. 6,600. He's gonna have a good matchup against. I don't think Trayvon Diggs gonna cover him. I think
he will. He's gonna shadow him. I'm almost positive. Yeah. I was actually going to mention this because I actually put DJ Moore question mark. I think Trayvon Diggs has actually taken a huge step this year as a corner. We saw week 1, he basically shut down Mike Evans. Last week, he shut out Devonte Smith. I think that he's not quite a lockdown corner, but I think that he's starting to get to that point. I think that they trust him to be in single coverage a lot, and I think that it's expected he's going to shadow in this matchup. So I think that this could be a situation where he's going to be very popular. So let me start there.
Oh, yeah.
I think whenever you have a guy that's usually popular like this, when the guy's chalky, you kind of have to decide what options do I have to pivot off the chalk. And I think in this case, there are 2 very obvious options that are priced right below and right below him, right above and right below him. So the guy right above, $100 more on the other side of that same game is CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. I'm going to have a ton of CeeDee Lamb. Again, another guy who's really broken out this year. I think he's taken that step over Amari Cooper. Obviously, the pricing shows that as well. I also think he has the better matchup. And then one of the best matchups on the week this week is Deebo Samuel against the Seattle Seahawks. We just talked about how Justin Jefferson tore this team up last week. I think Deebo is going to go right back there this week. And he's priced in that mid-range where he's over $1,000 cheaper than Diggs and Kupp and some of those guys, but he's got that similar upside. So I think I'm going to, especially if George Kittle doesn't play in this game, I think I'm going to have a ton of Deebo. So I'm going to have some more, but I think I'm going to underweight the field on him and go higher on Deebo and Lamb personally.
Yeah, I like Deebo a lot. I have him on my sheet as well. And the thing with Deebo, it's good for fantasy. It's bad for if you're a fan of the team. But Garoppolo throws to Deebo, whether he's covered, he could be double team, triple team. He still throws it. He had a pass last week against the Green Bay Packers. Somehow Deebo caught it. He was between 2 guys. Garoppolo should have never thrown that pass, but he threw it anyway. Deebo caught it. So, it's good for fantasy because Deebo will get those targets. It gives me a heart attack whenever I see Garoppolo drop back and throw those kind of passes. But, I think Deebo is definitely a great, great play. Gerson, you got OBJ on there too. I have him on my list as well, but I want you to talk about OBJ a little bit.
Well, they don't have Jarvis Landry back, and their tight ends are and only Jeff liked Austin Hooper, I swear to God. But no, I'm just kidding, Jeff. Don't get mad at me now. Don't go. don't. Yeah. No, OBJ. 5,800. Guy got actually involved last week. 9 targets, 5 receptions, 77 yards. And according to what I believe, what's his name? Can't remember what podcast I listened to it, but he was pissed off with Baker Mayfield. Like, they weren't connecting as good as they thought they would.
Yep.
They said it. They were frustrated. They said that you could see it on the sideline, but we didn't get like camera view of it. But OBJ wasn't too happy. Like, obviously he's a competitive guy. We know this, but I think he's gonna get peppered with target 5,800. He's coming in at 9% rostership. He's gonna be covered with either Smith, Breland, or Wood. I don't know which one of them, but Minnesota. They're gonna score, and the Cleveland Browns are gonna have to match with them. I think this game can be a very sneaky shootout. Kind of remind me a little bit of the Cowboys and Browns game last year, because Minnesota Vikings, they've been basically in shootouts almost every week now.
Yep.
So give me OBJ at 5,800. There's a lot of good mid-range wide receivers. I think you're gonna need it too. So.
Yep, I agree, and I have Ridley on my list as well. Tim already talked about Matt Ryan being better at home. Ridley's breakout's going to happen pretty soon. He's getting the targets. I think Ryan will finally get that connection with Ridley at 7K. I think he's a pretty good play as well. Let's move down into the value tier. Who wants to talk about Mr. Westbrook?
In case you guys don't know, the NBA season is right around the corner. And Russell Westbrook, starting for the Tennessee Titans, standing at 6'1", I don't know how tall Westbrook is, but playing for the Los Angeles Titans. We got the news earlier on that basically both wide receivers for the Tennessee Titans are out. And when I say that, I mean Julio Jones, A.J. Brown. This guy immediately, in all projections, all across every fantasy industry, the whole fantasy football industry for DFS, all the projections went up. This guy's $3,200, guys.
Yep.
Basically, going to be one of the highest owned players on Sunday. I will give you guys a fair warning. I don't think they're really going to need to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're going to run the ball the hell out of it. And if Westbrook gets you that goose egg of what everybody wants to what was his name? The wide receiver for the Jets. Jermaine Kearse?
That was his chalk week, and he got a big fat 0.
Yeah, big fat 0. I would not be shocked. Now, the only reason why we're saying this play is just, what do you call it? Buyers beware. That's what we call it. This is what I'm feeling like. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I think the guy, I'd never even heard who Nick Westbrook was until last week.
Yeah.
And Jeff knows this. I'm pretty deep down in Dynasty. And I was like, okay. And then Ryan Tannehill came out and said, I have a ton of confidence in Nick Westbrook. I'm like, yeah, because it sounds like Russell Westbrook, bro. We get it.
Well, it's because you can't have a lot of confidence in Chester Rogers, right? That's really what it comes down to. He was just like, look, the bar was not very high, and this guy managed to pass it, so we're going to put him on the field.
Yeah.
No, I love that play. Nick Westbrook, Akina, I think I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. I think a kind of less popular pivot off of him is going to be Colin Johnson for the New York Giants.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned earlier Slayton and Shepard are both out. Somebody's going to have to catch targets. If it's not going to be Evan Ingram, I think the person that's probably going to run the most routes is going to be Colin Johnson. Again, these are just absolute punt plays to be able to fit in some of those higher price guys that we talked about earlier. But one guy that's a little bit more expensive that I think is a huge value this week is going to be Corey Davis for the New York Jets. As Gerson was just talking about, I think this is a situation where the Jets are actually going to be able to pass on Tennessee a little bit. I think this might end up being the best game Zach Wilson has played all year. Tennessee doesn't have a great pass rush. He's going to have a little bit of time to be able to throw the ball. And I think Corey Davis could end up seeing an 8, maybe even 10 target game here at 5,000, which to me is just a massive, massive discount. So I think if I'm going to be constructing a lineup where I'm looking for somebody around 5K, it's either going to be him or one other guy that I think y'all are going to talk about.
All right, so the two I wanted to talk about really quick are from the same team, and that's going to be Christian Kirk and Rondell Moore. I think Ramsey will probably shadow DeAndre Hopkins. I think Hopkins will still be okay, so don't bench him in your season-long leagues, but I do think Kirk and Moore will get some targets that they wouldn't normally get because I think they're going to find ways to get them the ball, especially Moore at 4.7. They'll find ways to get him on screen passes. They'll get him on the reverses. They'll find ways to get the ball in his hand. So Christian Kirk and Rondell Moore both, I think, are viable value plays. I also have Jalen Reagor, and it's more of a junk time play. We saw last week when they were behind and trying to catch up, they were throwing the ball a lot to Reagor at 4.7 against Kansas City. And then the last guy I got is Emmanuel Sanders at 4.9. We mentioned Josh Allen already.
I called this one last week. I was actually really mad that I didn't have more of him last week.
Yep.
Because I said I felt like it was Emmanuel Sanders who was in the Millie Maker winning lineup, and I had him in like one bullshit lineup. So I was actually really upset here because I felt like I knew that was going to happen, and then I just didn't play him. So my bad on that, guys.
I wasn't upset because I'm like, him to Emmanuel Sanders, I'm going to put him. And that Emmanuel Sanders call made me like $300.
Nice.
So thank you, Tim.
Yeah, and shout out to Joe Flack for being the only person to play Manny Sanders in our roundtable arena, which scored him a number 1 lineup last week. So good job, Joe.
Good stuff.
Thanks for listening to the show.
Gerson, you got one more guy there that's going to be pretty chalky too, I think. Mr. Tim Patrick.
The Timinator?
The Timinator.
The Timinator. Yeah, I mean, I think this guy is very underrated he just keeps getting targets over and over and over. I know a couple of weeks ago, and I do apologize again, 2 weeks ago, I did say bait Cortland Sutton. Don't do it again. But Tim Patrick, I think he's like kind of like a Twitter darling for fantasy industry. Everybody's been hyping him up and everything, but I thought we saw this last year too.
Yeah,
like,
same thing.
Good.
I think it's been like every year he's been in the league, he's been like, kind of forget about him, and he keeps just balling out.
Yeah, but I mean, the last 3 weeks, I mean, he met value. 13 point, 12 point, 14 point, and this week it's 4,900 though, so he's gonna have to get you at least 15 points, which I think it's doable. I think he can get it versus the Baltimore Ravens. Their secondary is not as good as people think. Yes, they did pretty good against Tennessee Titans, but they're still banged up. They still don't have secondary very well. But the crazy thing that like really threw me off, if I can get a value play at 1.6% roster shit, that's crazy for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but Tim Patrick at 4,900, dude, that kick, by the way, was crazy though.
Yeah,
that kick was so crazy. But I think I like him. To be honest with you guys, I think value wide receivers are very, very sketchy this week. So I'm gonna be more targeting to mid range and see whatever fits with my stack.
Good stuff. Is there anybody left y'all want to talk about? You got two guys we haven't mentioned yet. Tim, you want to mention them real quick?
Yeah, well, I was higher on Jalen Waddle earlier in the week, but now that Devontae Parker and Will Fuller should play, I'm down on him a little bit. He did get a ton of targets from Jacoby Brissette last week. I still think he's a good option just on the volume that he got, but I think he'll probably see a little bit less than he did last week. Go ahead, G.
Damn, did I just see this right? Curtis Samuel is playing at 3,000?
He is, yep.
Gerson, don't spoil it, man.
Is that your sick?
That's my sick call.
I wish you would have scrolled down a little bit there, G. Good job.
Way to steal my thunder, G.
I was like, wait, what? I was looking at value. I'm like, wait, what?
All right, just play my favorite drop. Let's go.
Defense.
All right, we always go to Tim first because he's Mr. Defense. Give us your defenses this week, Tim.
Yeah, this is a week where you pretty much have to pay down at defense. I think it's very hard to be able to afford to pay up for defense this week. So I'm going to basically suggest three defenses that are all pretty cheap. The highest is the Cowboys at 2,600. I've already mentioned that I think that this could end up being a little bit lower scoring game than a lot of people think. I think that this is probably going to be one of the better defenses that Sam Darnold has had to play against thus far, and I think that they could end up surprising him a little bit. Two is going to be the Lions at 2,200. One, Justin Fields just looked so bad last week. The line for the Bears looked so bad, and this game could end up being played in a storm, so I think that may end up benefiting them as well. And then if you just don't have the money and you can't afford to play literally anyone else, you can play the Jets at 2K because I think that there is a game script where Derrick Henry doesn't run for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. They can keep this close, maybe put a little pressure on Tannehill, and maybe get a turnover. So I think if you punt the Jets at 2K, you're not going to probably get negative points. So if it fits everything else, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I had the Jets on my list as well, 2K. I like to punt defenses in cash games as long as they're not going to get negative points. And it might be the Jets. I haven't built a lineup yet, but it might be the Jets that fits into that lineup because I do think that they can be pretty decent as far as fantasy points go. Gerson, you got anybody on your list there? It's blank, so I don't know if you got anybody that we haven't talked about yet or not.
I know. Sorry.
Right.
No. The Jets are a great pick for me. I think this week I'm actually going to be just going all the way bottom of the barrel, and I'm going with the Detroit Lions at 2,200 against Justin Fields. I mean, we saw it last week. The rookie quarterback going in there straight into the fire, and he got sacked 9 times, I believe. But he didn't get sacked 9 times. He got freaking
He got murdered 9 times.
There was hurries, like you call it quarterback hurries. There was at least 10 more times of that.
Yep.
You know, this guy just so it's the Detroit Lions at 2,200 for me. And then the only other defense that I really have interest in is basically it's just what Tim said. And dude, like, I feel weird for saying this, but the Falcons defense at 2,300 against Tyler Heineke. I mean, if they can get a few turnovers at 2,300, I think it can make a difference. Like I said, guys, for the last 3 weeks, I haven't paid up for defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only time I even did with the Denver Broncos because I thought they were just in a smash position to get 20 points. And they did pretty well. I think they got like 14 points.
Yep.
I could be wrong. But, yeah, I mean, I think the way it's been going, the trend is just pay down for defense and pay up for running back, wide receivers, and just stacks.
Agreed.
But,
Yep.
And now, the stacks of the week.
All right, Tim, we'll go to you first. Give me your stack of the week.
Yeah, I'm going with the battle of the pissed off quarterbacks. So I'm going with Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. You can go with Devonta Smith or Jalen Reagor as the wide receiver, and then running it back with Travis Kelce and his excellent matchup on the other side.
Good stuff. I like that. Going a little contrarian because I think the other side, the Mahomes will be the stack that people play, but I think Hurts will be a sneaky play there. I like it. All right, Gerson, what you got for your stack?
now, I know what we didn't name this guy as a wide receiver, but I still think this stack will work out pretty well, and it can be very contrarian to run it back with him. I said it from the beginning of the show. I'm going to go back to Matthew Stafford. And if I have to go back to Matthew Stafford, I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Robert Wood, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep, that's a good.
I think I'm going to try to find a way to get some of those low-value running backs, those best value running backs, and try to fit that game. I really think that game can really shoot out.
Yep.
And I'm hoping it works out because that's going to be one of the games I'm going to stack the most of.
I actually have that same stack, but running it back with Rondell Moore right now. I think that's one of my favorite stacks of the weekend.
Yeah, and that saves you some money, too, at 4.7. So, yeah, I like that as well. My stack this week is going to be, I kind of mentioned it a little bit during the show, but Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore on the comeback. We already talked about how it's going to be condensed targets. Dak throws to a couple of guys, Lamb. Even Cooper got kind of ignored last week. I do think that Cooper is a good GPP play if you want to switch it up a little bit. And hopefully he has a big game. But Lamb and Moore definitely. And, of course, Dak Prescott is Dak Prescott. He's going to ball out. So that's my stack this week.
Are you guys worried about his rib, Cooper?
Cooper, a little bit. But I'm more just worried about the fact that, like, DraftKings is just teasing you with that $6,000 price tag.
I know.
Like, they're saying, like, I dare you to play Amari Cooper this week.
Yep.
That's really what that price is saying.
Yep, agreed.
I want to play him so much.
Right?
Yeah, I definitely will have a little bit of him, but I won't be having. I'll have more Lamb than I have of Cooper.
Yeah, same here.
Wait, Tim.
And now, the sick call of the week.
Or not.
Sorry, Gerson, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was trying to
No, I'm
time.
saying, well, Tim said he had the same stack I did, but it was on the sheet. I see something different.
Well,
No,
he's,
not on the sheet. I just meant I had built a lineup where I had Stafford.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah, no. I just meant that I had basically created that same stack even before you added it. So.
I like it. Sorry, by the way. Sorry, Jeff.
It's all good.
I love you.
It's all good.
Sorry.
It's all
Go
good.
ahead, Jeff. Give it to us.
All right, so we've already kind of talked about it. Curtis Samuel at 3K versus Atlanta. He is cleared to play. Ron Rivera came out, said he's good to go. And then the Gibson news. I don't think he's gonna sit out. But if he does sit out, Curtis Samuel goes up even more because Samuel will get a lot of those touches out of the backfield. They'll find creative ways to get him the ball. And at 3K, I can't ignore that price point. That's just a really good price point. They went out and got this guy for a reason. So Curtis Samuel at 3K is my sick call of the week. Tim, what you got?
All right, so going into today, Tyler Lockett was a little bit questionable for the game. He did get a full practice in today, so he seems like he's good to go. But I'm going to go ahead and play this guy anyway as a punt, and that's Freddie Swain for the Seattle Seahawks. This dude is playing an insane amount of snaps, close to 80%. The Seahawks are running a ton of three wide. He had a good game a couple weeks ago, and I think this sets up as a good game for him again against that 49ers secondary. I think he could easily break one deep and pay off in just one play. So my sick call of the week, Freddie Swain for the Seahawks.
Nice. You probably call our secondary a third dairy because it's got all backups right now. So there's no seconds in there. There's all thirds. Gerson, what you got for your sick call?
I mean, nobody mentioned Will Disley in the tight end section because everybody wants to play him. I'm good, dude. I'm good. My sick call of the week. Well, I don't feel great about saying this. I doubt any of you guys know who he is.
I love this call, actually. I was going to use him. I'm glad you did.
It's my boy Tommy Tremble. Jeff seen it. I have him in my dynasty league. So when Jeff said earlier on in the week, who are you going to play at the tight end position? I was honestly going to play Tommy Tremble. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. And in case you guys don't know, because of course you're not in the dynasty league, I have no tight end, no good one. And I'm like, fuck it, let's just gamble. But this week, I'm probably going to play O.J. Howard. But he's not on the slate, so don't worry about it, guys.
It's Tommy Tremble week, man. Come on, own it.
Tommy Tremble, oh my God, 2,500, man. 2,500.
I would rather play him than Disley. Like, I'm being completely honest. I know he's sharing time with Ian Thomas, but they felt good enough about this guy to trade away Dan Arnold.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about how they view him as a prospect. Sometimes tight ends will take a little bit of time to get going. But honestly, I had his name typed out and I deleted it because I would much rather take advantage of a guy like this that has some athletic upside than take a guy on Will Disley who, like, you're going to get, like, 3 catches for, like, 18 yards and just hope he falls into the touchdown.
End zone. Yep, exactly.
I thought it was my sick call, but okay.
There you go. I love it, though.
No, so Tommy Tremble, I mean, like I said, 2,500. This guy is probably, to me, I had him ranked top 4 tight end in this draft. So I like this guy. I've drafted him everywhere for Dynasty, by the way. Yeah, like Tim said, they traded away their starting tight end and 2,500 against the high-scoring offense, Dallas Cowboys. He's going to get involved. He's going to get more workload. And, yeah, while he got a touchdown on a 7-yard rushing touchdown, trust me, he's a good catching prospect, too. Like, he can do both. Like, well, not rushing. I mean, like, just receiving. But,
yeah,
2,500, if
he catches one touchdown, he's smashing value right there. Yeah. That's all he has to do. Yeah,
he's coming at 4% ownership too, so that says something. People want to play him.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and it's such an ugly week that you can punt him and still be viable.
Yep, good call.
Like, I think that's how this week is kind of shaping up.
All right, guys, that wraps the podcast up. Let's go to you, Gerson, first. Give us your Twitter handle and all that good stuff.
Well, first off, you can't see, but now you can see. Shout out to Jeff for this awesome new setup on the whole screen and everything. It's beautiful, Jeff, by the way.
Thank you.
I know you put a lot of hard work into it. You're such a good champ.
I put so much hard work into it, I paid for it.
Yeah, guys, it's called...
Yeah, I just had
a... No, you can find me at the Fantasy GDFS. You can find me on the Sunday show at... what time is it? Like 8:30, 10:30?
It's 11 a.m. Eastern. 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern on... What's the name of the show again?
Going for 2 live Sunday morning show.
No, with Gladys, Hamid, and Eric. Well, we have both of them every single time.
Yeah, Eric and
Evan.
Evan. Yep, both of them are coming on now.
They're both great guys. We have a great show. That show, I honestly have had a lot of fun this year on it. But I'll be there for the first 20 minutes of it, or 20 to 30 minutes of it. Yeah, just tune in because honestly, it's like I always say, I'm giving you the answer to the test.
Yep.
Well, I'm not that. I'm don't cheat off me, but just do what you want.
Good stuff. All right, Tim, what you got?
Yeah, as he said, you can find us in the Fantasy G podcast / Armchair Fantasy Show Facebook group. Definitely get into the Facebook group. We have great discussions in there every week. Jason puts up his polls or you're going to play, and then we have a great chat roll in there as well. So certainly get in that. And then on Twitter, you can find me at KetoDFS. Great way to reach me out there as well.
Good stuff. All right, guys. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. It's now right down there, so you can actually see how it's spelled. It's not with a J, it's with a G. All right, for Tim, for Gerson, I'm Jeff. We'll see y'all next week, and good luck.
Go Pack, go!